Shabbat Shalom and Moadim LeSimcha. I want us to think about a time when each one of us in our lives, my throat's a little, my voice a little gone, a time when you were sad, but you were expected to feel happy, or when you were happy and expected to feel sad. Just think about where you were. Has anyone felt that before? Raise your hand, yeah? All right, so a lot of us, okay. Judaism asks us to live in that tension all the time. We're commanded to mourn when our hearts are full, to rejoice when our hearts are breaking. Think about the breaking of a glass at a wedding, the most joyous of times. Why? Got to add a little bit of sadness. You got to bring in the brokenness in the world. Now, I learned this lesson myself. I'll share my experiences. My first one was my very first Tisha B'Av here at Shari Kodesh. Why? Because my son was born on the 7th of Av, which was 2 days before. I was a first-time father. My wife is healthy. The baby's healthy. And what do? I enter the sanctuary, remove my shoes. I sit on the floor. And then I have to turn this smile that I can't get off my face into a frown. Years later, 15 years later, I saw the other side. Almost to the day on Tisha B'Av, when my mother passed away. Feeling sad on Tisha B'Av that year was actually not a problem at all, but had another more daunting challenge. The holiday of Sukkot, when we're commanded to be happy. When one loses a parent, the mourning period lasts for 11 months, actually 12 months. We say Kaddish for 11 months. But it's for this reason that those in mourning don't go to joyous occasions, like wedding parties, because you're not allowed to be around joy during that time, because you're in private mourning. Everyone else is celebrating, and you can't be a part of it. But on Sukkot, you can't get away from it, because we cannot mourn on Sukkot. So I had to sit in my sukkah just a couple of months later, and I had to feel happy. So what does it mean to feel happiness when one is sad at the same time? Do we have to make ourselves happy even though everything is in the entire world is telling us to do otherwise? So it struck me that these two holidays, Tisha B'Av and Sukkot, they're actually mirror images of each other. Both require us to dwell on fragility. The first one is national fragility, the loss of the Holy Temple. We sit on the floor, recalling the destruction of our spiritual home. On Sukkot, we sit in a hut that could be destroyed by a gust of wind, but we rebuild our spiritual home in the places that we live all around the world in order to show that God is still with us. Both are about learning how to live in vulnerability, one through grief, one through joy. This dance between grief and joy is especially relevant for us, the Shabbat, Chol HaMoed. We're still living in the aftermath of the war that began after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, a little less than 2 years ago. Actually, a little over 2 years ago. Not on the Jewish calendar, though. Because as I write this, there is hope. I think it was Ron who came up to me. He said, I hope this is the last time I wear these dog tags. I hope that when I see you on Simchat Torah, this can go back into my memory box, that I could look back on it and say those were tough times, but the hostages are back. And these lessons from these two holidays can actually give us insight on how we're going to do this year, which is, in Judaism, celebration and tragedy, we do it together. On the holiday Sukkot, we're commanded to be utterly joyful, or as the Torah puts it, you shall have nothing but joy. Ve'ayita ach sameach, which is in Deuteronomy, which we're going to be reading on Shmini Atzeret. Rashi points out that the plain meaning of the text, what it means to say, is that the Torah is saying, don't worry, you'll be happy when Sukkot happens. Rashi points out that the rabbis say that there's an obligation on the part of the Israelites to rejoice, though. So what do? How do you legislate a feeling? How do you tell people how to feel? Perhaps we can reinterpret Simcha for Sukkot in this way, in this idea that on Kohelet, the most seeming that we read Kohelet on Sukkot, which is the most seemingly joyful holiday. And Kohelet reminds us, as we read, that joy without reflection is hollow. That even happiness must face the winds of impermanence. Nothing is forever. And the Sukkah and Kohelet both whisper, nothing lasts forever. That's why we rejoice. If we had everything, and if everything went on forever, if there was no loss, how would you know what gain is? How would you know what joy is without loss? Now, Rambam adds another layer to this idea. What is happiness in Judaism? And the Mishnah Torah, he says that one is obligated during these holidays to be in good spirits with his family. But then he defines joy. What is joy? It's concrete acts. It's things that we do, like sharing food and drink, giving gifts to each other. Now, Maimonides teaches that joy is not a feeling, but a practice. It's not about forcing a smile. It's about creating joy for others, your family, your guests, your community. We might say today that joy is an action verb in Judaism, and also that joy should not be hoarded. We should share it with others. But the second part of Maimonides' law really struck me. Who else is invited? And here's what he said. He says, one is obligated to feed the stranger, the orphans, the widows, the destitute, and the poor, along with one's family. With this, he teaches us that Simcha, in the truest sense of the word, meant sharing our sacrifices. It meant sharing the harvest with those around us. We're commanded to be joyful not just with the people we love the most, but with the vulnerable, the widow, the orphan, the stranger, the people in society who are overlooked. Now, think about it like this. Have you ever been to a party or a celebration, something, or someone's off to the side, they're having a rough time? What do we usually do? We say, give them their space, right? We say, give them their space. But on Sukkot, we do something else. We gather them in. It's called Chag HaAsif, the festival of the ingathering. Just like the farmers gathered in all the harvest and everyone to enjoy the harvest, so too do we during Sukkot. We invite people, even those who are suffering, so that we can share in their suffering and they can share in our joy. Rambam teaches us that Sukkot is about oneness. We are at one with our family, our community, with the world around us. And when everyone is together, there's got to be a flood of emotions. Not everyone's happy. That's another aspect of happiness, of Simcha, the oneness of it. It is happiness and sadness together. Yom Kippur, which was just last week, is a deeply personal holiday. But Sukkot begins the process of coming out of the shell, coming out of that holy of holies to rejoin the world. And so we enter into it slowly, but then Sukkot happens, and we go into our flimsy huts. And they're supposed to be our homes for the week, but they're not comfortable. On Yom Kippur, we afflict our souls, but the work of tshuva does not end until the end of Sukkot on Hoshana Rabbah. By gathering those who are suffering, we take ourselves out of the comfort zone. That's also Simcha. On Sukkot, we make ourselves vulnerable to the forces of the world, especially this year in Florida. We admit the realities that Ecclesiastes spoke about, that life is tenuous. We're all but dust in the wind. And yet we say, nevertheless, we choose life. Rabbi Irving Greenberg wisely said, he said, joy is more powerful than sorrow or denial. We're in a new year, but we still have the pains of the past 2 years with us. But let us remember that joy is more powerful than sorrow. And even though we are in this tenuous time, we do have much to be joyous about. Today, this week, is the time of our joy, and God wants us to be joyful together. The Sukkot reminds us that joy and sorrow, they can live under the same roof. And when they do, holiness dwells there too. We can't always choose happiness, but we can choose to act in joyous ways with our community and the people around us. And in doing so, we often find joy waiting for us.